Angela? Angela?
I'm here. Sorry, I had to disable my mic for a moment. I'm getting links sent out.
That music is perfect for Weird Sisters.
This is the placeholder. We're talking over it right now. People can hear us, but yes, it is perfect.
Definitely.
I
If
got
you're
that
going
from.
to do that,
Hold on. I gotta mute myself on the video. 1 second. Oh no, where am I coming from? I rattled back. It was in my CapCut.
that's perfect.
I love it, and I put it on with the thumbnail, and it rotates, and it kind of does like a little shaky thing for the
Right.
video.
Right.
I thought it would be perfect.
Do I sound any better with the headphones on?
It does sound clearer.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm sharing links. I will be with you in just a moment. All right. Oh my goodness, it's going to be one of those days today. All right.
Oh, that isn't what I wanted to have.
1
I
second.
might have to leave and come back.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Dee should be back in a second, and we are going to. I thought I made her a moderator. Okay, well, now you're a moderator with this account.
Okay.
Actually, you're a moderator with both accounts. So, okay, I got a new intro thing, as you guys heard, the starting soon thing. I'm learning how to do stuff on CapCut, and we are slowly making this more entertaining. But for some stinking reason, I still can't get my avatar to work. So I am the Taco Bell dog again. I don't know why. I don't know. I really don't know what's going on. I swear it was working perfectly. And I don't know if Rumble changed some of their criteria or Hey Blue or what, but I cannot use my avatar. I I will figure it out one day. In the meantime, y'all get the Taco Bell dog. And we have D here.
Hi, Blue.
It's Taco Tuesday.
Isn't that the truth?
And we had
Hey,
Taco Bell for
Blue.
lunch.
Hey,
Oh,
Blue,
D's.
you never told me how bad I sucked in speaking on this damn thing.
I
I
sounded like shit when I
fucking.
first started.
Oh, wait. Or where are we on? We are Rumble or are we on
We're on
YouTube?
all 3 platforms. YouTube can see us until we decide to change topics
Okay.
where they don't like it, in which case we will cut
Well,
YouTube
I'll
out.
be nice then. I went back and listened to myself, and I just effing suck.
No, you don't.
Oh, it's terrible.
Blue agrees with me. Blue agrees. Look at that. You did not suck. You didn't suck. Sorry. Yep.
Well,
So,
I got my headphones on now. I'm proud of myself. I got a split screen on my tablet. I got my phone. If anything goes wrong, it's your fault.
if it's the Fed's fault, not mine. The
Okay.
federals, the agencies, the ones that aren't elected and they spy on us all the time. They have been for decades.
Yep.
Yeah, those people. It's their fault, not mine. I promise you, it is not me. So, um, I know you wanted to cover that one video you sent me,
Right.
and I will get that pulled up right now. Now, I cut it into 2 clips, and we know the word. I know the word. It's in my head. It's not working. I cut it into 2 clips, but we can pause it as we go through it. And it's the entire Boris Johnson talking thing. It's a total of 12 minutes and 36
Yeah,
seconds.
and it was rather interesting that I had come across it like in the middle of the evening last night, and I was just very uh, taken aback, to be quite honest, with
Hmm.
what I heard. So
Yeah.
you guys can be the judge after we listen to it.
Oh, I see an Irby.
Hey, Arby, are
I
you
didn't
joining
see him in
us
the. Oh,
today?
there he is. What was that,
Are you
D?
coming up on panel?
It might take him a minute to type. He snuck into that chat and I didn't even see it. Because I was pulling up a video. I
I
can.
can.
I'm not at work. Okay, I'll
I
drop a link if you want to jump up here. Let me send it in the Discord.
yeah, blue.
If you want to come up too, I'll drop you one blue in Discord. Oh nope, I just sent it to D. Not the right person.
That's okay.
You already have it. Why am I sending it to you? There's
I
the
don't.
link, and I'll drop Blue a link too if she wants to jump up here and say hi. Okay. All right. The link's there if anyone wants to join. Do you want me to hit play and we can start watching and go from
Yeah,
there?
go ahead.
Oh shit. Good job, dumbass me. Crazy B is being stupid. I forgot to share my screen. Oh my god. This is how you know I'm practicing cuz I am not good at this. All right, everyone ready?
Yep.
Boris Johnson was British Prime Minister between 2019 and 2022, placing him at the very heart of the global response to 2 historic disasters, the COVID pandemic and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Well, President Putin says that Johnson personally talked Zelensky out of a peace deal in the very early months of the war, something that Johnson has emphatically denied. That deal reportedly involved Russia.
What was that?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought
I
you
said
did.
hi when I came in.
Hi,
Oh,
Arby.
hi, Arby.
Hi.
Oh, all right. Let me hit play.
Withdrawing to its position before the full-scale invasion in exchange for Ukraine giving up NATO membership and receiving security guarantees from its allies instead. Now, many influential US conservatives, led by Tucker Carlson, have accused Boris Johnson of therefore being culpable in the subsequent loss of tens of thousands of lives. Well, to answer for himself, Boris Johnson joins me from Kyiv in Ukraine. Boris, good to talk to you.
Hello, Piers. How are you doing? Yes, I think I caught your introduction just about. And first of all, let me say how absolutely tragic it is to be here in Kyiv with this war still going on, and how heroic the Ukrainians are. They are going to win. They will be successful. But, you know, how ugly and unpleasant it is to hear some of the misrepresentations that have come out of Washington in the last 10 days or so, really peddling the Kremlin line, such as the one actually that you've just repeated. Not that I'm suggesting you're endorsing it, but saying that Ukraine was responsible, started this war, saying that Zelensky is a dictator, saying the Ukrainians could have done some deal early on in this war, got the Russians out, that wouldn't have involved a complete humiliation for Ukrainians. It's just lies. It's just rubbish. And it's very painful for people who care about Ukraine, who actually know the facts, to listen to this stuff. But Piers, you know, and I've seen some of your commentary on this, I remain optimistic nonetheless that there is method in Donald Trump's madness, and actually that by shaking things up in the way that he is, he can continue to drive the process of peace in Ukraine. And
I got to pause it here so we don't get in trouble. And I want to say
I was
something.
just gonna say, yeah, pause.
Um,
I I
Go ahead,
I,
Dee.
I just find this totally I don't know if it's me, but I'm just like, who the hell does he think he is? First off, he's been out of office. He's going to come in here and blame Washington for these issues? Seriously?
He was a failed prime minister who was elected because of Brexit and
Exactly.
basically just turned into a globalist the second he was in office. Um, I I don't know if Pierce is going to talk about this, but my understanding is that Boris went over there in 2022 when Ukraine was at its best position to potentially
Right.
negotiate and talked them down on behalf of the West. Like I don't understand in any way
He's
whatsoever. Like I know Crazy Bee was talking the other day about how like this is World War One style trench warfare, and I've seen a lot of the body cam footage, and I've been following a lot of this more than not as much now as I was, but ultimately, like I I don't understand why all of these people are so delusional to think that a country that is a third the size of Russia is
Mm-hmm.
going to be able to, quote unquote, beat it when all it's
right.
done is lost territory, when it's got manpower issues, it's got, it doesn't matter how much fancy equipment you send, when in all historic peer to peer fighting or near peer to peer fighting, they become wars of attrition.
Right. They're
Um,
outnumbered,
and
basically.
all these Westerners who seem to think that like in World War II or whatever, or World War One, that the West or the Americans were any different. No, the reality is that World War II was a war of attrition for the Americans, and the average GI in World War II lasted a few days on the front, and it was just people being sent to slaughter, no different than any other war that's amongst peer to peer fighting. And so like
He's going to tell you that he denies being involved in the 2022, but he's going to piss you off even further. So, uh,
I
Yeah,
mean, I don't understand the audacity of these people who want to have forever wars continue, which the
and
only
I think
people that I
that's
see
what
that
it is.
benefit out of it are, the quote unquote military industrial complex, which I don't think is as powerful as people, claim it is. But, you know, I don't see how that benefits individuals, when individuals are doing the dying.
Well, that's because uh, uh, the ones that are in power aren't the ones that are affected.
of
Their
course. They're
children
sitting
aren't
behind
the
a
ones
desk.
going to war. You know, it's easy for them to just say, you're going to go and you're going to do X, Y, and Z. I mean, as you
You know,
said, Arby, when I took a look at the maps and the lines, I mean, come on, it's obvious. All Russia has to do is go in and swallow them up and they're gone. I mean, if they sincerely wanted to. Um,
I mean,
so I don't,
I'm not.
there, as we continue, you're going to find out different information that is kind of. I think you're right where it is. They want it to be a forever war.
I mean, look, I'm not trying to justify Russia as being good guys or anything like that, or
Of
Oh
course.
no,
or not even not being the aggressors in this. But
no.
ultimately, like when I look at history surrounding this situation, going back to the end of the Cold War, I don't know that Ukraine was necessarily truly a nation as much as a buffer state that was created by the West.
And that's what I was even saying. It doesn't make sense the way that this has been playing out. Ukraine, the only thing they really have to offer, other than there's not that much in minerals. They're
Well, I
more of
just
a,
sent.
they're more of a farm and agricultural state.
Hmm.
Okay, so hold on because we just had breaking news that came from our dear Taco Tuesday. Blue Rose sent over to us breaking news from Charlie Kirk that. Hold on a second. You think I could pull it up? No, because We got to go to the phone and
While you're
hold
pulling
on.
that up, I mean, the problem exists in the United States too, with the way that borders were drawn historically, have
Mhm.
not been drawn surrounding actual ethnic and cultural groups. They've been drawn arbitrarily based on what people in power want. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a reason the Kurds don't have a state and spread across, 3 different other countries.
Yep.
It's the same reason that when you look in the United States, I know I've seen you post from this guy, the
That military historian guy?
no, but that Gen Z guy, that Monsieur Z or whatever he calls himself.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
and his whole thing about Utahism is what he calls it, but that, if you rejiggered the American states based on actual ethnic groups, you'd have much better, function
Yeah.
on state levels. It's the same thing in Ukraine, where you have this country that was split between, a poor, Russian speaking, Russian ethnic group and a bunch of Westerners, that want to be part of Europe on the other side of the country. Like, this was inevitably going to lead to issues. You look at,
Look at the Slavic region
the
of Europe
yeah, well,
and how
that's
those
exactly what I was going to say.
my
Is like, look
grandmother
at
was born
the
and raised in Yugoslavia, but when she died, she's buried is now part of Bosnia because
Yep,
of the
that's
way the
exactly
borders
what
were
I was going
drawn.
to say.
Mhm.
You have the entire Bosnian War was caused by the way that the borders were drawn after World War II,
Yes, it was a
where
disaster.
you had Serb majorities in some countries and Bosnian majorities in other countries, and that directly led to that conflict.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it was my great-grandmother, not my grandmother, but still, the fact is she was buried in Yugoslavia, and then all that nonsense happened, and somehow, she's now in Bosnian country lines, and this is again where this all could have been headed off if they had used common sense while drawing these borders, but nope, they just threw darts and drew lines between them and said, "Yep, that's it." It's like,
Right.
this can't happen. This makes no
O-
sense. They're literally destroying so many ethnic cultures that were absolutely amazing, and they did it all out of stupidity.
Okay, now this is our
Uh-huh.
we're practicing, guys, as we do this. So
Well, if you
Crazy
wanna
B,
send it to me, I can pull it up and share it.
yeah, Crazy B, I did. I sent it to you. I screenshot it to you. Can you? That was the very last thing that I sent you. Can you pull that up? The breaking
Yes.
news.
Yes, I can. Give me 2 seconds, and I will share it. Oh, look at that. I can do it this way.
There you go.
Epic. Let's enlarge this baby. Breaking. Ukraine has agreed to President Trump's request for mineral rights deal with the US as compensation for hundreds of billions of dollars America invested. Kyiv will contribute 50% of future mineral revenue to a joint fund. The deal comes without security guarantees. That's bullshit. Zelensky heading to the White House for the signing the art of the deal. I don't call that an art of a deal. I call that Ukraine getting royally screwed.
Mm,
How are they going to? They're basically trapped, like how we trapped Germany post World War II.
well, I'll tell you what. If it's true that Zelensky has stolen, right, billions of dollars from us, give me back some money back in mineral rights.
But it's
I
not
don't kind of
him
have
who's
a
going to
problem.
suffer. It's the civilians who are going to suffer.
Yeah, I mean, as I see it, you've killed off, depending on the numbers, somewhere near 1 million men that are, from
There's
Ukraine. You've had however many deaths
there's
of, other civilians outside of that.
yeah,
Mhm.
there's over 800,000 in Russia, and I believe Zelensky just said, and this number seemed awfully low. I believe he said 21,000. That doesn't,
Oh, I can tell you what's going on is they're hiding the numbers.
okay.
This was told to me is that, especially in Russia, if the person is never recovered, they don't have to pay anything to the family for the loss. And I wouldn't be surprised if
Yeah, I've
Ukraine's
read
doing
that.
the same thing.
I see.
But I've been saying this the whole time. It's like, I don't see a future for, Ukraine, even if it does survive this war, because everything's been destroyed. I mean, like, unless Europe is going to come in and the United States is going to come in and pay them to rebuild while they're, and send people to rebuild them while they, have babies and grow up. Like, it
Well,
seems unrealistic.
that's what was said earlier today in the press conference, right? That the United States was going to go in. But I have one nasty comment to make, and that is I cannot help but see pictures of Zelensky, and I'm sorry, but a comedic, right?
Yeah.
Just I just cannot phantom in my mind a comedic being in charge of this major war against Putin and Russia. I
Well,
just don't see it.
this was my
In
major
my
issue with
mind, in my mind, I feel like somebody else is behind it.
Well, this was my big complaint with how Biden approached this. Again, I'm not opposed to. I think I'd said this in Discord, but I agree with Crazy B in that if we made agreements, we need to stick to them. But then you go to this country that we know is like a corrupt Soviet style military where their training is piss poor and their leadership is piss poor, and we go, well, you guys are in charge of the outcome of this war. You want back your 1991 borders, even though you haven't held them since 2014. Sure, we're in until you say you're done. And to me, it was just
That'll never end.
delusional at best. And
Hmm.
again, it's okay to say, "Hey, we're going to support you," but this is what's realistic. No, you're not taking a bunch of your best trained commandos and sending them across the Donbass to build a bridgehead that you're never going to be able to hold and supply just for shits and giggles
Mhm.
in 2022 that's going to undermine your entire ability to fight. No, you're not just going to dump people in trenches. You need to actually build some, military like defensive works and defend them properly. And
Well, that's kinda
um,
like ties into what I talked about the other day. Why weren't these countries preparing? I mean, if Russia was such a serious threat and China's such a serious threat, why the hell weren't these countries acting like they're gonna be invaded for the last 50 years?
Right.
Well, that's what I said from the get go, and the person that we were talking to kind of agreed with this on some level. Is like, that you were talking to the other day,
Yeah,
and I was saying like, okay, fine, maybe I was wrong about what region of the country specifically, but you had portions of the country that were partying like it was 2001 or whatever,
yeah,
or the turn of the century, while other people are dying in trenches.
yeah.
And how are you going to say, hey, this is an existential crisis for the survival of our country and the future of our nation, and yet have people be able to buy their way out of said war and not be recruiting 18-year-olds or whatever
Well,
for
this also ties
2
into
years.
what I've always held. We should have supported them, but it also should have ended within a year. There's no way in hell it should have carried out this long. That's bullcrap. And again, I blame corrupt politicians in all governments. And I am talking the US, Europe, Ukraine, and Russia. I mean, come on, we sent how much money to them? And Zelensky's like, what are you talking about? 200 billion. I only got 75. And all
Well,
the
I have,
armaments and
yeah,
stuff. And
and I
I know
have,
you wanted to get to
yeah,
that. And
yeah,
so that's why I'm not going into the further details of it,
right.
but I'm pointing out, so this leads to where the hell did the money go? And that's what D has been digging into. Well, I was digging into the religious stuff from the Tucker
Mhm.
Carlson, and it's a freaking mess.
What I don't like is there are so many people involved, right? There's so many agencies
Mhm.
from the United States. I mean, I can't even. I have a list of different names. It's crazy, and how does one talk to the other? How does one know what the other one does?
The right
And
hand of
that
the
is
government
how
never knows what the
fraud
left hand is doing,
and
and
that is how
it's
fraud occurs, right?
yeah.
You know, here's $10 to you, and then we're going to siphon off $8 over to Arby, and then 4 is going to go to Blue, and then you're going to get 2 back. I mean, it's pure craziness. And by the
Mhm.
way, we forgot to give our breaking news at the beginning of the
Oh
headline news.
shit, I did. I forgot.
Yes,
And I shared this with Arby is that look that hotel that all the migrants have been staying in New York, the Roosevelt Hotel. Yeah, that's owned by Palestine. So
Pakistan.
or
Pakistan.
Pakistan. Sorry, I thought it was Palestine. Pakistan. So all the money we were dumping of our tax money and our donations and stuff that everybody was sending in. Well, I personally didn't, but I'm just saying all that tax money New York dumped into the migrant crisis went to another country. It didn't even come back to Americans.
Millions and millions of dollars. When
Our
I heard
government
that,
doesn't know what its own companies are doing.
when I heard that, I almost died. I mean, uh, that's a whole nother topic, but that was our breaking news for today.
And I forgot to
That
cover it at the beginning.
Yeah,
I
we'll cover that
apologize.
later on, but that's our breaking news that the Roosevelt Hotel that houses all of the migrants, that famous hotel that was for the rich and famous, that now houses illegals, gang members, is owned by the Pakistan Airlines.
Oops, I put it
And
wrong in my post on Twitter. I put Palestine. Oops. Someone will correct me. Some autistic
we'll
out there
see
will
if
be
they're
like
paying
me.
we'll see if they're paying attention. And so it's owned by Pakistan Airlines, and all of the tax money, the millions of dollars that have been given, have been going to them.
It makes you wonder if that hotel did this on purpose.
Maybe because they knew that that was big money compared to, you know,
Well, and
oh, I
also look
thought,
at what's been going on between Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh.
uh huh,
If you've looked at that region of the world, that's another hot mess like the Middle East.
right. But that was our breaking news, so we just wanted to get that message out.
But yeah, let me hit play on this so we can listen to Boris Johnson dig himself into another hole.
Please cut his hair.
That's what my son said. He came in and whispered, "That guy needs a haircut."
I'll just give you one example, Piers. Look at what's happening with this deal now on resources. Actually, it contains some great stuff for Ukraine. It's not yet agreed. It's the one that the Americans proposed to the Ukrainians a few days ago. But the Ukrainians have done very well in negotiating. It now has stuff in it, important stuff, about American commitment to a free, sovereign, and secure Ukraine. American commitment to keep investing in the security of Ukraine from the
Well, we just heard that there was going to be no security in this, so he was wrong. Obviously, this was before the deal was made, but just going to point that
And
out.
why is it our job? Is my question. Why?
Well, I keep saying this, or I can hold this thought for a second if you want to play a
Oh,
little more, but
go
I
ahead.
keep saying this on a lot of different shows and talking to different people, but so many Americans and Westerners have grown up in this era after World War II where they believe in these ideas of international law and rights and things like that. The reality is that that's not a real thing. In nature, the reality is might makes right, and the rule of law is dictated by who's stronger.
Yeah.
And we just happen to have been lucky enough to grow up in a time where the United States had a lot of power and could dictate to the rest of the world through, the UN and all these NGOs and whatnot, what
Mhm.
was quote unquote right. And so all these people want to fall back and rely on things like international law. International law is nothing. It's not a thing.
Yeah.
And
Right.
as we have become, over leveraged and not able to be that, same big bully dictator around the world that we were, this whole, rule of law bullshit's going to go away, unfortunately.
But I don't.
Unfortunately.
But see, I'm of the belief that it's not our position to be the world's police, the world's peacekeeper. Obviously, if we're in the event of like a World War, 3 or something, but the DEI bullcrap that was going on, for example, or the Sesame Street or the trans stuff. It is not our job to go into other countries and take our values, our beliefs, and put them onto another country. Who
I
are
agree
we?
with you.
Who gave us the, we're not God. We don't hold the power. We're not, we don't hold the key to the kingdom.
Well, George Washington's advice was to mind our own damn business and don't get caught up in other countries' affairs.
Hey, look, I'm in no way arguing that we should be the police of the world. I'm just saying all these people who turn to these ideas of, world policing and,
Basically
rule of
the
law and
global
international
government.
criminal courts and all that kind of stuff. It's not real. It's just bullshit.
Yeah.
It's Star Trek fantasy. It's not going to work out in reality. Especially right now. All right. Let me hit play so we can get through this a bit. It's definitely, again, we got to break it up just so we don't get in trouble. But here we go.
The fund they set up. American commitment to financial support for the long-term stability and development of Ukraine. Now, that is good language. What is, and that is a great commitment. Ukraine needs to be economically bound into the West, bound in to America, and this agreement, this resources agreement, would help to do it. I think what's preventing the signing of this deal, sadly, is some of the polemic, some of the rhetoric that we've heard in the last 10 days. But I'm sure that it will get done, and it will get done, I think, very, very soon. When it happens, what we in the UK need to do is come in with strong support for what Trump is trying to do to deliver peace, and show how we are going to fulfill our obligations to Ukraine by setting up with the French that European deterrent force in Ukraine, boots on the ground, as Keir Starmer has rightly said.
I want to point out that by all these countries putting boots on the ground in Ukraine as security is going to piss off Russia.
It's not like it's going to matter. I mean, the UN is a useless organization, security force and all that. Look at what's going on in Africa. Look at what went on in Syria and the north of Israel.
Yeah.
In Lebanon with those peacekeepers. I mean, Hezbollah just, functioned right under their nose. I mean, it's not going to accomplish anything.
But in the findings of the money that I found, where it's going is to this OAR. And that's where they're doing the training and that for these boots on the ground. That's the fascinating part of this, is like almost a backdoor channel into what's going on.
Let me hit play again, and we'll definitely tackle that financial aspect as soon as this is done.
Not in a fighting capacity, but there to provide logistics and training support, probably about 30,000 people. And that will show, not from the UK, but 30,000 all in, that will show the Americans that we are actually serious in our concern, in our determination to ensure peace and security in Ukraine. And that is actually what will, I think, encourage the Americans to remain committed. So it's a grim situation. It's terrible that the Ukrainians are still fighting. But after 3 years of war, Vladimir Putin has not and will not conquer this country. I can tell you, in the last year, all this nonsense, another lie is that Putin is making inexorable progress towards victory. It's a great, big, fat, steaming, stinking lie, Piers. In the last year, he's, I think, taken 0.5% of Ukrainian territory at a cost of about 420,000 troops. It is not going his way. He is not going to win. What we need is for Europeans and to dial down some of their anxiety, some of the rhetoric, everybody to dial down the rhetoric, look at what Trump is actually proposing, and do a deal that will guarantee Ukraine's security for the long term, and reflect the reality, which is, I think for Putin, this war is basically unwinnable.
Okay, look, I concur with much of what you said there. I do, as I said.
Okay, I don't agree with them that Putin didn't stand a chance about this.
Look, we don't know exactly what Putin's goals were and what portions of the Ukraine he wanted or why. It's not like any has been made public. It sure seems like he wanted a land bridge to Crimea and wants access to the Black Sea, but and wants the actual worthwhile minerals, which are now in Russian control. It's all nice and good and wonderful talk, but again, at the end of the day, why are these countries not being more like Poland, who were like, no, we're going to build up a real military because we actually, want to be able to protect our citizens and our sovereignty.
Well, because they learned during World War II when they were the first ones invaded. They're
No, but
like, that
that's
shit
what I'm
ain't
saying. Like
happening again.
Germany, and West has invaded Poland just as often as the East has invaded Poland.
Yep.
And so all these people who want to cry and whine and complain and talk about international law and stuff like that, and about how, Ukraine wasn't supported properly, who's supporting Poland? Poland is supporting Poland.
Yep.
Do you have
And
me
Poland
back?
did get those missiles by accident. Yes, you're back, Dee.
Okay. Sorry about that.
I do wonder how Ukraine managed to accidentally lob missiles into Poland instead of Russia. I don't know if anyone else remembers that.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Pillsbury or whatever remembers that.
I'm just trying to
Whatever.
figure out how we're going to sit there and say we need to defend them, and they can't even aim their missiles in the right direction. There's a big difference between East and West, and North and West. I mean, like, seriously?
Yeah, well, the conspiracy brain in me when that happened was like, they're just trying to draw the West in.
I thought so too.
I mean,
but
that's
thank
what it
God
seemed
no one
like to
took the
me.
bait.
Hell, I mean, they still claimed that, the pipeline was destroyed by the Russians. I still
We
see
all know
people
that's
complain
bull
that, and
crap.
that was BS.
America was behind that
Right.
shit. All
Because
right,
why
let me
would
go.
Russia destroy its own pipeline? That makes so much sense.
Yeah, exactly. Let me hit play. We'll get through a few more minutes before I have to pause again because he's going to say something that's going to make me react and think and call him out for bullshit. So let's keep going.
On X earlier, I think you've been steadfast in your support for Ukraine from the very start, and that's very laudable. I felt exactly the same way that you have about this. But there is this weird disconnect by many in America, particularly on the conservative right, who do not share our view, who seem to think that Zelensky is the real villain here, and that Putin was provoked into doing this to safeguard his own security because of NATO encroachment and so on.
No.
What do you say to that specific argument?
It's totally mad. It's totally mad. It's through the looking glass. It's the complete opposite. Putin was not provoked into this act of aggression. His 115 battalion tactical groups that attacked from the north, from the east, from the south, they didn't have some fault in their sat navs, and the Ukrainians, frankly, were completely innocent. And did nothing to provoke him. Nor did NATO provoke him, by the way.
Okay, so Ukraine, I really don't think Ukraine is 100% blameless in this. I just have that mother's gut instinct when you have two kids pointing the fingers at each other and they're both saying, I didn't do anything. They just started it. Now, when that happens, it's usually both people provoked.
Yeah,
And
I
so-
see. I see the comic going na 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 na. I just.
So, I mean, this is a little bit off topic of what he was just saying, but nobody goes to war because because they're evil. Like they start
Right.
a war because there's something they want. And I think Trump is accurate when he says, like, there were opportunities to sit down and figure this out, and it wasn't done.
No, they wanted the. You know who I think the proof of the keeping this war going out of out of everybody. I was thinking about this was Nikki Haley.
Mm-hmm.
Nikki Haley was probably the biggest proponent to keep this war going. I mean, there were others, but I think that they wanted this, and so they were going to provoke both sides. And I think the United States probably poked the bear and the comedic.
Well, I mean, this is why I'm so disturbed by all these people who are like, you can never negotiate. Sitting down at the table is a bad idea. Every single war has ended with some sort of negotiation. And if they'd been willing to sit down, years ago, there might have been a way to avoid all of these, unnecessary deaths. I mean, at the end of the day, like, again, I'm not trying to say that, Russia isn't a bad, country, bad leadership, quote unquote evil or whatever. But ultimately, in geopolitics, it's no different than the bully on the schoolyard. And if you're weak, you're going to get taken advantage of. We
Well,
see
to
this
me,
in every part of the world.
to me, it's almost like as if China and North Korea got into a fight. Do you really want to intercept or just let them wipe each other out?
Right.
Yep. I mean, look,
Yep.
I was watching a video earlier from one of these very pro-Ukrainian YouTubers, who's like, a military vet and whatnot. And, our mutual friend thinks he's pretty good because of, his coverage being very pro-Ukraine. And, he was upset about the UN resolution that was passed, or that, the US voted with Russia on. Kind of being that was calling for an end and negotiated settlement and whatnot. I don't understand where people are coming from when they don't recognize that, it's not always our fight. And so, for example, they were comparing it to, in the comment section on that video, they were comparing it to Taiwan, and they were saying, well, look, this is just setting a prelude for Taiwan to get taken over by China and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, unfortunately there are winners and losers, and if Taiwan is not able to protect itself, and we don't have a vested interest in what's there, if TSMC comes to the United States or moves out of Taiwan and we don't have a vested interest in being in Taiwan, then what's the point for us to waste our treasure and our lives and whatever else it may be on a few mile island that okay, it sucks to be a Taiwanese person if you're taken over by China, but what is in our interest that's there if there are no chips for us there and China can't get chips out of it? That's the only reason that it's of value to us. It's not because we're good people or whatever. People have to get out of this perspective that there's such a thing as winners and losers and good and bad. As Thomas Sowell says, in international politics or whatever, there's no such thing as a good and bad, or I'm messing up his
There's
quote.
only a evil and less evil, or worse evil.
Yeah, and he says something like, there's no such thing as solutions, there's only trade-offs.
Yep. I have to agree with them 100%. And again, people are looking at this from the white knight perspective. They got to save everybody. And the white knight is a very bad mentality to have. I know you're familiar with white knight syndrome, and I swear the world has it. Or at least a good chunk of the people have it, because they want to save everybody. But when you save everybody, who's there to help you?
Yeah, Captain Save-A-Ho gets walked all over.
Yes, I love that, Captain Save-A-Ho. It's very true. And most people don't think about it that way, though. They're just like, oh, these people need help. And again, we see this all the time with the propaganda. Oh, the poor people, the poor people. You know what? Get the civilians out, let the militaries duke it out, and then that's it.
Right.
Well, this is the problem in Africa or whatever, where all these people love the NGOs and all their free aid and whatnot. But the reality is if you constantly just handing things to countries and to other people, they never learn or figure out how to be an actual self-sufficient country.
If you teach a man to fish, if you feed a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach him how to fish, you feed him forever.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. And we can, again, it's like, does no one ever learn from all these proverbs that are out there?
Nope.
It drives me nuts. All right, let's let him piss us off a little bit more.
You know very well, Piers, that the reality of Ukrainian membership of NATO then was, a cat's chance in hell. I mean, it was there were going to be so many blackballs. It would have looked like sheep droppings, frankly. The French would have vetoed it. The Germans were going to veto it. The Hungarians, the Americans certainly weren't going to pay. It was never going to happen. And now I think there's an overwhelming argument for it. But before February 2022, it was absolutely never going to happen. Not in a month of Sundays. So that is complete nonsense. And by the way, to say that I had some role in persuading the Ukrainians to fight for their country is a great. It's obviously totally implausible, but it's also.
I think he's full of shit on that. He's trying to cover his
Mhm.
ass.
Hmm. Look, I understand there was a time where NATO had a lot of value to the United States, to the West. I don't understand what Europe offers the United States
Right.
at this point.
Oops, shit.
It's
Sorry, one
true. I went
second.
to
I bumped my keyboard.
No, you're good. I was just saying, like, the Soviet Union is dead and gone. Russia is not as powerful as everybody wants to pretend it is, even if it's got nukes. And I maybe I'm the stupid one, but I don't think these world leaders are interested in starting nuclear wars and mutual destruction and whatnot.
Of course.
Um, I think that they tend to be rational actors, even if we don't see things their way. And so, like, what I don't see is a huge value to the US in NATO and being involved in Europe, when all Europe is to us at this point is just a vassal state, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
that we allow to think that it has so much power and control. Without the globalists in America having power, what does Europe actually offer us? I mean, anybody that's intellectual or educated could easily pick up and move to the United States, and a university would hire them, and all these anti H-1B visa people would turn around and be very happy to take the intellectual elites from Europe and have them become Americans and
Of
strengthen our country
course.
that way. The
It
H-1B visa
didn't.
people aren't so, at least a lot of them aren't so against immigration as much as they don't see a reason why we need to bring, poor, uneducated immigrants into the United States instead of actually investing in Americans themselves. But, like, most of the arguments that I saw from people that aren't very much like, American cultural, hegemony type people, was that they don't see why we should be bringing in, like, Indians or whatnot to do entry level jobs when we could have Americans do entry level jobs.
That's one of the arguments I even hold. But with a whole generation of Americans who can't even handle 30 hours a week at a coffee shop, are they going to really be able to work on that
Oh, all
level?
of these, yeah, all of these new welfare people that are required to work 30 hours and all of the laid off uh, government workers, they're going to need these new jobs that are out there.
I've been saying this for years. People either grow up because they have a sense of, self-worth, or because pressure is put on them. I tell stories about, I had a friend growing up who had some mental health issues, and I mean, maybe they really truly were more debilitating than I believe they were. But his parents stopped ever making him be responsible for anything in life once he hit,
Oh,
like,
no.
his early teens and started having these mental health issues, and solved every problem for him. And by the
Nope.
time he hit adulthood, he had no ability to cope or deal with anything. And, just slowly but surely, fell apart more and more as his parents continued to support him financially. And so, like, you know, ultimately, people are like diamonds. Diamonds are just carbon that's under a lot of pressure. Either you grow to the occasion and you actually
Toughen up.
toughen up, or you fall apart. And I'm
Don't
sorry,
you
but
think,
we got rid of the whole, like, survival of the fittest, Darwin shit,
right?
years ago, because we got so fat and happy and wealthy. And that never should have gone away. These
And
parents
don't
that
you
don't.
think what you're saying, Arby, is true and just change it from the child with mental issues to the United States?
Yeah, no, this is true on all levels. That's what I was saying about,
Mm-hmm.
like, we don't need to be the world police, like you were saying. And
Mm-hmm.
might makes right, and we all think that these international BS things mean something, but they don't actually mean something when you're not that powerful. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
look, this is why I fault all this. We used to 18-year-olds used to be kicked out of their parents' houses and have to fend for themselves. I'm not saying people shouldn't get help or whatnot, and I'm not faulting families that stick together. Like, I know you and your kids, you all still live, like, that's a good thing. I think there should be multi-generational homes and whatnot. But these parents who treat their college age kids as little children that need to be taken care of just amuse me. I mean, you're not giving somebody the tools to actually succeed as an adult. you're babying them so that they're going to need somebody to be a parent to them when they're an adult. This is why, you constantly see people who are like 35 and still acting like children because they've never
Right.
had to act like an adult before.
It drives me nuts. And
Didn't
go ahead, Dee.
didn't Trump just say this week that since he's been gone, that the European countries, the majority of them have not met the 2% NATO requirement that he wanted?
I think I heard something about it, but I have not fact checked it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, Israel spends something like 10% of its GDP over, periods of time on defense. Like, that's a country that understands, like it or hate it, that it lives in a situation in the world where it is going to be under threat and it needs to be prepared to protect itself. Why are these European countries not taking their own sovereignty seriously?
Because they don't care about their own sovereignty at this point. They're lazy, whiny, and they're acting like,
And
the people you were just saying, the 35-year-olds who can't hold up under the slightest bit of pressure. They just
knowing that
crumble.
the U.S. will come to their aid.
Yeah, well, that time's going to come to an end.
Right. So go
I mean,
ahead, hit play, Ann.
I heard a funny noise.
No, I was just saying we don't have the means to do that. And
Oh,
we
no, I
never
heard
should
like
have
this
been.
beeping noise. It was really weird. It was like an alarm. Oh, either way, let me hit play.
Ukraine early on in the conflict after they'd kicked them out of the Kiev area, and all I said then was we're lost in admiration for what you have done, for the heroism of the Ukrainian people. We can't be more Ukrainian than the Ukrainians. If you have to do a deal in Istanbul or wherever, then obviously that's a matter for you. What I said was, if on the other hand you fight on, I just want you to know that we in the UK are going to do our absolute level best to support you in any way that we can. That's all I said. And I think any UK Prime Minister, frankly, would have said the same in my position.
But why do you think, Boris? I've been really confused that if you went back 30 years, the idea that anybody on the conservative right in America would not be all in favor of supporting a sovereign democratic European country in defending itself against a Russian dictator would be unthinkable. And yet now there is a significant number of people, conservatives, Republicans in America, who for some reason think that it's fine that Putin has done this and he was provoked and he should be able to take the land he's taken, and that's it. I don't really understand what has changed here in their thinking.
No, I think it's creepy. It's creepy and it's bizarre. But I think there's always been a strain in America of isolationism. And I think it's partly just a lack of enthusiasm for embroiling America in any European theatre of conflict. And we saw that in the Second World War. It took 2 years before the Americans came in, and
Before he goes any further, when it comes to World War II, that was not our damn business to be involved in. It was. Why do they think it was
Well-
our job to come save Europe from their own battle?
Well, wait, it'll let it.
Do you want me to let him
play.
finish talking shit
Oh,
before
let
I
him
go any
keep
further?
playing. Oh yeah, let it play.
Okay, okay, just thank you for letting me know there's more to be pissed off about, so I
Oh,
don't have
yeah.
to pause it again.
as I pointed out many times before, one of the reasons why people are anxious about this deal, the resources deal, because they think the Americans are being too rapacious. But remember what they screwed out of us, Piers, in 1941, 1940, 1940. We were on our,
Pause that for
knees.
1 second.
The
1 second.
Go ahead.
Did you hear the words that he said?
Yes.
We screwed them in 1941.
Oh, no, we made them look bad when my grandfather went over there, thrown into Normandy on D-Day, and magically survived somehow when everyone else in his foxhole was blown to pieces. Yeah, my grandfather was shrapnel in his legs till the day he died in 2001. Yeah, okay. We really screwed Ukraine. We really screwed Europe over. Fuck him. Sorry.
Well, one of the things that I've been looking into, and I think I mentioned it on Discord before a few times, but this whole idea that, I've talked about the euro dollar
Yeah.
and how our financial system has been way over leveraged because we allowed the Europeans to create dollars from this whole petrodollar, eurodollar system. For every $1, it's estimated that we print in the U.S., it's estimated that the system in Europe prints and throughout the world prints like $9 to $10, and so we've
We get
allowed.
screwed.
Well, and that's exactly it. Is we've allowed this system to take place for all these years that are, allowing other groups of people to become financially to grow and build businesses and things like that on cheap money that is, on our own backs.
Mm-hmm. I'm not okay with that. Just going to point that out. And I'm pretty sure everyone here knows it. This is unacceptable. And the way he's talking about this, he obviously doesn't pay attention to history. Europe, Britain, the Allies basically, were getting their asses handed to them until America got bombed by Japan. And we said, fuck you guys, and went full out. Most of Europe was losing to Germany until we basically had no choice but to step in. America wanted nothing to do with it. And that now he's going to sit there and act like America did nothing to help Europe? Like, dude, you need to relearn history. This is part of my frustration, is when people don't know history and the history books get edited. And again, I'm talking about what my grandfather relayed to me, his own personal experience in Europe during World War II. And yes, Europe has screwed America over far worse than us waiting and sitting it out because it wasn't our business to get involved in. And this is what I don't get. Like, why can't people? It's like that nosy freaking neighbor that you want to punch over the fence because they won't mind their own damn business. It's not their business why you're barbecuing in the middle of winter. Like, am I wrong on this, or is it like just, it pisses me off so bad? Oh, D's muted too. Or no, Arby's still there, but D's muted. I don't know. Let me hit play. We'll go through a little bit more. I've just had it with Boris Johnson, and he can go hide in a corner somewhere.
The Britain was fighting alone against Nazism, and the Americans still demanded, as a price for Lend-Lease, they demanded, there was the bases for destroyers deal, you remember? We had to give up a lot of our bases in the Caribbean. We had to give them a base in Newfoundland. They gave us a little rust bucket destroyers that didn't really work. And then we had to pay billions of dollars to America during the Second World War, when $1 billion was really a lot of money. In fact, we paid so much money to America that we stopped paying checks. The UK taxpayer last wrote out a check to the United States for the support we had in the Second World War under Lend-Lease in 2006, when...
Good. You should pay us. How many of our people died over your war? Like... Am I wrong for seeing it that
No,
way?
and that actually you lead into a good point. Not only in addition do I have some cost numbers, but here's the biggest thing that has not been added up, and that's the cost of deaths.
Yes.
That's the cost of family member, men that will never return home, that were potentially fathers or sons or owned businesses, or
Could have
the
been the doctor who
contributions
cured
to
cancer.
society that they made. That's gone forever. How many billions of dollars is that worth? How
There
much
is no price
value do
tag
you...
on life. There is no
Yeah,
price tag.
exactly. What is it? $1 million? 2 million? A billion? What is it?
But imagine if we needed their help and they came to help us. They'd be charging us
Oh,
out the nose too.
there ain't, you know what? If anybody in this country thinks that anybody, including Canada or Mexico,
is coming to our aid if we would get invaded. You have another
That's a
thing
joke.
coming.
I'd laugh. I don't see any of
Yeah,
them doing anything.
right.
I really don't, because they're not capable. I mean, America has spearheaded all the situations in the Middle East, all the situations around the world. Especially the ones we caused. We're spearheading it, and everyone else just kind of drags their feet along behind us. And if they got to get their hands a little dirty, they will.
Right.
It's
Right.
not too often you see these other countries spearheading these movements to end some of this stuff. It's always America leads the way, and we'll just drag our feet and come in and take credit when we're done. Exactly what they
Mm-hmm.
accused America of doing during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Most of America did not want to be involved in World War II. It was going to be costly. We were still recovering from World War I. There is no way in hell we should have been dragged into World War II so quickly. I mean, we literally went from World War I, Great Depression, World War II.
But we have a big, beautiful ocean. We don't need Europe.
Yes. And that's why there's so many Americans who respect the Second Amendment and don't want to lose it. If some shit hits the fan, we're the biggest line of defense because our military is scattered around the frickin' globe.
Yeah,
Our main defense is our militias and our state militaries right now. We ain't got jack shit here in America other than our training camps.
Hit play and let them continue.
Okay.
Ed Balls was Economic Secretary to the Treasury, and Tony Blair was Prime Minister. So what I'm trying to tell you is America, in my opinion, will continue to be the arsenal of democracy. I'm no doubt that America is going to continue to support.
He just literally dragged our name through the dirt,
Right.
and now he wants to, dude, go
Wants
fuck
us
yourself.
to be the arbiter. Yeah.
He literally just talked about how we screwed everyone over, but now, we're the wonderful heroes. All right.
Right.
I promise I'm not going to lose my temper for the next 2 minutes and 23 seconds.
I don't know what else to say other than all of these people need us more than we need them.
Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
but they want to talk shit about us. It's like, oh my, it's
I'm
like my family.
And just as a side note, I'm very surprised at the stoic face, I guess, that Pierce has.
Yeah.
And for him to be in agreement, he said that he agreed with them.
I mean, I don't
which I
like. Pierce is a Brit. He's a quote unquote liberal. He's not. America.
Does he have dual citizenship?
I have no idea, but again, he may be fascinated and like the Trump stuff, but
right.
I best see him
He's
as an
liberal
ally.
at heart.
Yeah, like he's not. He doesn't understand, being an American because he's a Brit, and at the end of the day, even if he likes the Trump phenomenon somewhat, or likes the Trump pushback against the woke, and the Trump is a response to that, and he can recognize that, he's still not putting Americans and American values at the front and center of what he thinks.
All right, I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to try not to interrupt the last 2 minutes. I promise I'm going to try.
Ukraine, but today, as always, American politicians, whether on the right or wherever in Congress, they're setting a price on their support, and they're just as they did with Franklin D. Roosevelt, they're constraining, as you rightly say, they're constraining what I think Donald Trump wants to do. And I think, like you, I think his fundamental instincts are in favor of standing up to Putin and in favor of a sovereign Ukraine.
I hope that is the case. I think that is the case. I think a lot of this is Trump being the deal maker, which he's very skillful at, and him putting America first. Just spell out for me 2 messages. One, for Donald Trump, what is your message to him? You know him well. You worked alongside him when you were British Prime Minister. And secondly, Keir Starmer, who's now your successor as Prime Minister in this country, is going to the White House on Thursday. What's your message for Starmer when he's standing there next to Trump?
Yeah, so my message to Donald Trump would be what I said to him repeatedly. Look, his commitment, Pete Hegseth's commitment to a sovereign, free, secure Ukraine, that is the key thing. Everything flows from that. That's great. Keep focusing on that. Putin can't live with that. Putin's eventually going to lose this thing. Donald Trump is doing the right thing to focus on the sovereign Ukraine. Starmer needs to go out and show how we, the UK, with the French, are going to provide that deterrent force to help the valiant, heroic Ukrainians to turn their country into a steel-quilled porcupine that is basically indigestible to any future attack by Vladimir Putin. That's what we need to do.
And when it comes to
Piers, I've got to love you and leave you. Thank you very much.
One last question, Boris. When it comes to dealing...
Thank you. No, I've got to go. I'm so sorry.
I've got to say one last thing. One last thing before you go, Boris, which is just that this is 5 years ago, you ran into a fridge to avoid being interviewed by me. It's a long time to spend in a fridge.
You can end it there, Crazy B.
Okay, what was that?
I said you can end it there. It's just stupid stuff there.
Okay.
Pierce bullshitting.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting that just finding this video last night, how it kind of flipped a little bit of what we've done, what we had planned. But I'll tell you what, it really has me ticked off. It really does.
Oh, I am livid with it too.
I mean, if this is, and you know, I think it's representative of what we've seen when J.D. Vance was there at the sugar. Where was he? Was at the European whatever, and he was talking to the conference that he was at, and he was talking to them about freedom of speech, and they're looking at him like he's an idiot, like he's the strangest thing on the planet, right? And it's that total disrespect, except you have wants from us. You know, you want all of this stuff. And us as dumbasses are giving it to you.
Well, that's the thing is
that's
like
the kick. That's the kick.
Our leadership has treated the Europeans and all this, you know, European security and whatnot as equal to us. They've put them on a pedestal. You know, when really it should have been the whole time the Trump method, which is, I'm sorry, carrot and stick, guys. You're relying on us. I mean, this is why I was saying, like, I see a future where potentially, you know, America and Russia are closer than America and Europe, because America needs Russia more than it needs Europe.
Oh, Arby, don't say that, Arby. Then it's Russia for sure.
I've accepted that I'm an evil, you know, Russian supporter or whatever. But like, Russia has resources. Europe has no resources. America has resources. America has what to do with said resources. Even if, you know, America has sold out its manufacturing for such a long time, America can rebuild its manufacturing. But what does Europe actually have? Europe has a state that, you know, a number of states that are basically just built on welfare, that, you know, have used America to be their defense, that rely on Russia for oil and Russia for energy. I mean, this is why the Germans, for all their big talk about being anti-Russia and anti-Putin, ultimately, you know, continue to rely on Putin to provide them with gas this whole time.
Yeah, that's how they got to heat in the winter. They would have not survived if Russia, despite everything going on, is still giving them the oil and gas, the natural gases they need.
Wasn't that Germany chopping down wood and chopping up furniture in order to heat their homes?
The first 2 years, yeah.
Maybe if none of these countries had shut off their nuclear reactors, it would have been a different situation.
And that was brought up multiple times, especially by Dan Crenshaw. He's like, nuclear power, you had it. You chose to shut it down because of fear that it was going to go boom, boom, and it didn't. And it wouldn't, as long as you keep up with it and you keep up with the maintenance.
We got a deep dive into Dan.
Oh, don't get me started. He's a back and forth person that I follow, only because he has a podcast where he actually sits down and breaks down why he votes the way he does in Congress. I can only respect him for that. I don't agree with him on much of what he said.
Well, he's a neocon at his core.
Yes. And he is
Yeah.
definitely one who would gladly go to war and put America at war just because, everyone's afraid of Russia. And this goes back to like the Tucker interview yesterday where you brought it up, Dee. If Russia's so bad at propaganda, why is everybody so afraid of it?
Right.
It doesn't make sense. So, yeah. And it's
Have you ever had a
too bad, like,
podcaster
trying
that
to
had
figure
to
it out.
eat because it's 5:15 her time?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, have you ever had a podcaster that was going to eat in between your talking
Oh,
because
that's
it's
me.
5:15 at her time and she's
Yeah.
hungry?
Oh, yeah. I eat all the time in between. That's why I also don't
Okay.
have my camera pointing at me. I nibble in between. Go right ahead. Eat away. I just don't like
have to
when
get some.
podcasters eat on camera and their food's hanging out their mouth every time they talk while they're
Exactly.
eating,
Exactly.
while they're
You
chewing.
mean you don't like the Twitch Hassan
Oh,
Piker
God.
method of just
No.
putting on someone else's hard work and then walking away, or sitting there and eating your food while someone else's video plays without pausing it or doing anything
Yeah.
Oh, you.
transformative or
And the
attempting
pot
to be
and the ones
transformative?
and the ones that sit there on their phone scrolling and
Uh-huh.
texting instead of actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. Because if I wanted to watch this video on my own and just have the addition of you on the screen, I'm gonna go pick watching it on my own because you're not doing anything.
Right. Right.
Yes,
All
I'm
right.
I'm
So
more
we're
into this reaction stuff. Not the
okay. So
reaction,
we're.
but like commenting.
But I think we're up at my part here. So where do you want to go from here? We want to
Definitely
talk
let's
about the
tap
money,
in. Yeah, let's
right?
tap into the money stuff. What you have found so far. And I know you sent me that one link with the breakdown of the money and I can pull that up and have that on screen.
Yeah. Hold
Um
on a second.
mhm.
I gotta say, I mean, I'm cognizant of this because I pay attention to the Middle East stuff more, but I love how all these like anti-Israel people are crying because of the amount of money we've given to Israel, and yet what we've given to Ukraine in just a few years has trumped any amount that we've given to
Oh,
Israel in
crazy.
20 years
Yep.
that people want to point out, or 30 years.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Oh yeah. They want to just complain about this stuff. And actually what Dee sent me, and I know she's getting things pulled up too. But
Right.
one of the things she sent me literally breaks down not so much per cost, but like it doesn't have the list of item and the cost of it, but just the items. Or well, it doesn't even have a number next to the items. It's just, we've sent these and we've sent this and
I mean,
that. Like it's
I am
just there's
cognizant of
so
the
much.
argument that we've sent a lot of, our aging military equipment that was going to be decommissioned anyways.
Yeah, it's from Vietnam era.
So I do think that there's something to be said about like that's not the same as us sending cash. But remember, I sent you like these stories from early on about how we were
Mhm.
just funding their pension funds and
Yeah,
sending them
that's what
cash
we're
to pay
Exactly.
for,
that's what she's
their
been tracking
fire and
down.
stuff like
Is
that.
the
Right.
actual cash end of it. We
Right.
understand that there's been a lot of equipment that is high in value, but it still doesn't equal the cash that no one can seem to account for.
Right. And I
Uh,
haven't even gotten into the Ukraine end as far as what I can find money wise. So
yeah, well,
just as recent as of January 20th of this year. Now, this is interesting. This came from the U.S. Department of State. Crazy B, if you want to pop that up on the screen.
That's the
Uh,
one from the Secretary of Cooperation, Security and
that's the
Security
security, yeah,
Okay,
right. If you go through there, you'll see that blah, blah, blah. And
let me enlarge this so you guys can see it better.
so as of February 24th of 2022, approximately 69.2 billion uh,
That's all in this
went to
this right here.
military assistance, right? So we have Zelensky saying, I'm missing all of this money, where we have a fact sheet from January 20th saying they only received 69.5, right? As of February 2021.
No, February
69 point,
24th, 2022.
2022. 69.2 billion was given since 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing I find interesting, Biden was a little busy guy. They talk about Trump. They did 55 emergency presidential drawdowns since August 21st. Why can I not talk today? That's because
It's
I'm
okay.
hungry. Since August of 2021 to provide Ukraine military assistance, approximately 27.68 billion. Okay, and
From the
that came from the
stockpiles.
DoD stockpiles.
Yes,
That was
that's
in the
the
forms
value of
of,
the equipment
right,
and munitions.
correct. So that was for air defense. They gave them 3 Patriot air defense batteries, 12 National Advanced Surface to Air missiles, Hawk air defense systems, 3,000 Stinger anti-aircraft missiles, and the list goes on.
Oh yeah,
Continue down,
I will scroll down and let you guys see
right.
this. Look at
There's a lot of equipment that we sent. Now, they gave ground maneuver. They gave 31 tanks. They gave 31 Abrams tanks, 45 T-72B tanks. They gave fighting vehicles. Uh,
support team vehicles.
yeah, medical treatment vehicles. I have a big question about all of this,
Mm-hmm.
and that is, what if something happened on U.S. soil?
We have better munitions and equipment now that is
I
replacing all of this.
I have a hard time believing that.
I can only hope we
I
do.
I mean, I, I do to some extent, but come on, go through this list, everybody, when you get a chance, and you review the list.
And I will
And
put the link in the
they got
description.
right. There's 100 sets of body armor and helmets, 100,000 sets. Don't you think that our own police and
Where's
our
that
own
at?
military, right?
Oh,
Well, that's what
I'm
happened
trying to
to a
see it on
lot of
here.
our stuff from the global war on terror is
Right.
it got sold to police departments at a, less of a rate.
So
That's
this
why
is
we ended up
just
with the quote unquote militarization of police. If you guys
right.
remember
So
those
they
talking
talked
points.
about right. Uh, So September 26th of 2024, the department notified Congress of the intent to direct a drawdown of approximately 5.5 billion in defense articles and services from the DoD stocks for military assistance. So
Uh-huh.
that was even more money. So basically what happened here was uh, there's just money coming out of the ass, to be quite honest. You really need to read this fact sheet. And basically, before Biden left, he was blowing money at the door to Ukraine. And I am going to, I don't know if I should say it on YouTube, but I am going to be like Circleback Saki and say, go back to the very beginning of where did this money go and who was the money being kicked back to?
Yep.
This is just phenomenal. It really is. And can find no record of accounting in it anywhere. Now, the next piece of information that we have coming up would be
Hold on one second.
okay, we can look at hold on. This is what happens when you're trying to multitask. Okay, we looked at that. Let's pull up I want to use this just as a reference piece for everybody, and that would be this conflict in Ukraine from the House of Commons library.
Did you send me a link to that? Because I don't recall seeing it.
I did, but I could send it again. Hold on, it's coming over.
Oh, I found it.
You got it?
I believe I do.
Okay. This, I don't really want to get into this. We've spent quite a bit of time, but this goes from 2022 to present.
Hold on,
and this is
channel. Let me share the right tab.
Okay.
There we go. Got it.
Okay, so this is some research briefing from the House of Commons in their library. You'll find a bunch of different parliamentary research that they've conducted, and this is going to be from the British or European perspective, okay? And again, I don't want to waste, we've spent enough time. There's a timeline that you can download to take a look at things.
I'm adding it to the show notes.
Okay.
Oh, let's see if I can type right today. Okay, that is added. Now that's actually something I want to download. But I will do that when we are done with the podcast because, well, I just don't want to, But I mean, we can kind of go through this a little. I mean, oh no, that's going to take forever. That is
that's
103 pages.
Right. Yeah,
so this will be at your reading leisure.
Correct. And if you find anything, put it in the comments and we'll take a look at it.
Yes. Is there anything else you wanted to share that I should
Yeah,
pull up?
we should have the final piece would be the Ukraine support tracker. And that's from the Keel, the IFW.
Got it.
Okay. And that is a database of the military, financial, and humanitarian aid to Ukraine.
Now, this is that website that French reporter used to break down where most of the money was coming from. And if you look at this map, let me see if I can enlarge this enough for you guys. Yep. So 45 to 75% or greater than 75%.
Yeah, I got
No, you're still here. You're still here.
I got kicked out though.
That's weird. You're back.
Yeah, I got kicked out.
Oh.
You can still hear you.
But I'm back. Okay.
Well, if you look at this map, it's claiming that the Scandinavian countries were donating more to Ukraine than America. And that's if we can trust them. And Canada's and most of Europe are right behind us.
All of the research that I have found has, we have given more money total, but remember,
it's
by
going percent of GDP probably.
No, we are given more money in the cash, but it's going to OAR, which is distributing the money. Okay?
No, but what I was saying is that
right here it
graph
says government
that you're
allocations
showing is by percent of GDP.
It says it right here on the map.
Okay.
Right there, I just highlighted it. It does say it is percent of GDP. That's why they are giving more of what they have, but America has a bigger GDP, so it shows that we're giving less of out of it's like a ratio. They're smaller, but to them, 1 billion to them is a lot more expensive than 1 billion to America. I guess is the best way to put it. So yeah, it's a bit of a mess, but this is a good website to go to.
Yeah. So when Zelensky says I did not receive, 200 billion or whatever his claim is, he's correct, right? Because he's only getting the 69.5 that's going directly to Ukraine. The rest of the money is going to the OAR.
And here it looks like America donated the most between October and December of 2024 compared to everybody else. And
Right?
again, we did in July to September of 2022. Now, again, if there, this still, and I see what you're saying, Dee. I 100% acknowledge that it's being siphoned off to sent to other projects that have nothing to do with Ukraine. And I don't like it.
Well,
one of the things I've been following that's been talking about that Eurodollar stuff I was referencing, they believe that a lot of the money that was supposed to go to Ukraine ended up being pushed behind the scenes into the European bond market to keep it afloat.
Well, yeah. And I'm not saying that the money that he did receive, something nefarious didn't happen to it, right? That the money Zelensky did get, there was something wrong. I'm just telling you that the difference where he's making the claim that he did not get that total dollar amount from Congress. You know, we have Congress going up there saying, we're sending, 65 billion for Ukraine. Well, guess what? That's not true. It's going to the OAR who is making the distribution. And
Yep.
that is going to fund things like boots on the ground in Africa, training in some, Baltic Sea somewhere, uh, equipment somewhere in another country. So there's all different projects that this money is going to. I have never ever heard a politician say we're giving $65 billion to OAR, because I think if the American people knew where this money was actually going, they'd have a fit. Like,
Yes.
what are we doing in Africa? Now, I
And
understand there's a hotbed, of places in there, but again, where's the financial accounting of the breakdown of the OAR? And what was interesting was in the press conference this week, I believe it was on Tuesday, we played it. One of the gentlemen actually referenced the OAR, and that was the first time I ever heard it said.
And most people aren't even going to pay attention to it.
Nope. Nobody's going to know.
Now, you had a website to the OAR. Do you have that available?
Yeah, and I also have,
Oh, here, I can
know
just
what?
look it up.
I also have this other, did I send you the SIS.org one?
Yes.
Okay, put that one up there too for them to see. Now, this is the Center for Strategic and International Studies. This is
Well, then I got to get to the right tab. Oh, my camera went out again. Oh, they hate when I'm doing this. Oh, I know why. I got to cut out some of these tabs that I have opened.
Okay,
Whoops.
so while you're doing that, Ange, I'll do a little bit of reading. On
Okay, go
February,
ahead and read.
yeah, on February 2nd, Zelensky said he had only received 75 billion of the 175 billion that the United States had spent on Ukraine. The cry went up, what happened to the other 100 billion? Was it lost or was it stolen? The answer is no. Only part of the aid goes through Ukrainian control. A large part pays for activities as a result of the war, but not to Ukraine directly. These include the United States training of Ukrainian forces, global humanitarian assistance, additional costs of U.S. surge forces in Europe, and intelligence support for both NATO and Ukraine. This is a fascinating read. Again, this is a question and answer from Zelensky, back and forth.
Let me scroll down. I don't know why my camera went out and it won't let me turn it back on. Could you trace the cord and unplug it and then plug it? Oh, nope. Hold on. Oh my gosh. Hold on. It's back on. Buddy, don't. It's back on.
Now, we've also given them
Oh,
$9 billion in loans
uh-huh.
that they claim will take many, many years for them to be repaid. I'm like, no kidding. So they give a nice breakdown in that where the missing $100 billion went in military equipment, in U.S. industrial base and general defense, Department of Defense spending, which I
Uh-huh.
find fascinating. That money stayed with the DoD. Ukrainian Security Assistance Initiative, that was for equipment directly from U.S. manufacturers. Again, back to the United States. U.S. forces, funds for extra costs of U.S. forces that surged to Europe. Humanitarian aid, that, man, that's a whole nother subject. How much money actually helped refugees?
Probably not
Economic
much.
and other U.S. agencies. Funds went to places like the DoD, the Department of State, and guess where else? Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
USAID.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm. And the Department of Treasury. And the
Really?
Department of Energy.
Oh, wow. I wish my camera was working. Um, that's interesting. I'm
Mm-hmm.
truly baffled by that one. Why would USAID and the Department of Energy and other places need Ukrainian
Mm-hmm.
aid?
Right.
What do they have to do with it? And this is
That's what I'm
us. We're
saying.
not even
That's what I'm
experts, and we're
right.
tracking this down.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Why there are so many hands in the pie, so many hands in the pot. You know what I mean? It's like what we said today with our breaking news. We keep saying follow the money, and the money went all the way back to Pakistan Airlines. This is a freaking nightmare as far as how the hell do you even begin to follow the money?
And again, we're not the experts in how to track the money on computer. We're just finding news articles that happen to make it
Right.
knowledgeable. So if we're not experts and we can track it on this level and we're not even accessing bank accounts, that's pretty messed up.
And I'm not an expert at all when
No,
it
none
comes
of
to
us
this.
are. None of
Well,
us
that's
are.
all I'm basing my arguments about how, Ukraine and its recruiting issues. That's all based off of news articles.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm
It's
no
out
expert
there
on
for the
it, but
public,
like,
but nobody's reading it.
hmm
Or they're at least not piecing it together. That's the other problem. How many people just can't strategize and connect the dots?
well, this is why I keep saying we live in an age where people think that because they watch some TikTok account or some podcast or whatever that told them some info, that it must be true. And, it's not something they need to look into anymore. You just throw something in your bio with a flag or whatever, and you're a good person. So,
Oh, the hell you are.
I
Um,
really I really feel like I'm almost back in doing graduate work, right? Doing
yeah.
research and digging into information and going down one rabbit hole and finding this and finding that and trying to come together to piece something together that makes sense. But right for this, I, we
I
could
know.
pick a piece, right? And let's, like humanitarian aid. We haven't even talked about that. You know what I mean? Like I would hate to think what we would find if we delve into that.
It'd be a
Just like we
mess.
got off on Tucker Carlson. We never planned on talking about religion, and somehow we got about, religion.
And
We
that's
never
where
planned.
I was going to get into after we're done listening to them
Yeah.
claiming what they're claiming. I actually have counterpoints that make that look like it's propaganda.
Right. Just
So,
like I did. You know, we didn't plan on Pierce Morgan today.
yeah.
That happened at 4 a.m. this morning that I found that. And I
Mhm.
was like, the universe must be looking down upon us.
This is why I
Exactly.
was saying to Crazy Bee earlier that like it just takes so much effort to put together what I feel is like a valuable show for my streams
Mm-hmm.
that I don't know if I'm motivated to do it this week, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do if I, instead. And I might just find something interesting to watch. I was watching some video on like AI being used for protein folding, and medical development. Like, I don't know, maybe just talk about something like that on my stream, because I just, the amount of
Yeah.
effort it goes into to just put together like an hour worth of, what I feel is worth talking about is a lot of time reading papers and research and putting stuff together.
Yep.
And I feel like, and I mean, this is Crazy Bee, and I don't know if we can get off on this little tangent for a little bit or not, but she knows I've been a little bit worked up today, Arby, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, some part of this I feel like I'm flying by the seat of my pants because I don't know anything about any of this. You know what I mean? How to do this. I went back and listened to a couple of my videos. I sound like shit. I'm like, I can't talk intelligently. When I'm on the phone one on one, it seems to make sense. But we get on the podcast and I'm fumbling for words and,
That's why we're here
is,
practicing.
yeah, and is what we're pulling up as a viewer and what we've presented, do you think this is worthwhile content?
I do.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Oh,
And if
trust
it
me,
isn't
people are
Arby,
entertained by this. You would
yeah.
not. I can show you the analytics from the last
Hmm.
couple of days of covering Ukraine.
Uh huh.
Oh, I can show you the analytics. People are interested in this. They are paying attention. Hell, these videos have my longest retention of viewers.
Okay. So if there's Arby, you've been watching and seeing what we've been doing. We have some bigger plans that we plan on rolling out. So, any suggestions or whatever, I'd like you to give them to Crazy B so that we could take them into consideration and do whatever we can. I mean, we're both trying to work things and, you know, share and do whatever and figure out who's going to do what. And, once one rabbit hole opens up, then we're like, oh my gosh, now you got to go and scramble and do X, Y, and Z. So it's like you said, it's hard to put something together uh, and have it, you know, look good. So
Well, that's why I like these rabbit hole ones where one thing leads to another,
right,
and I can have it's something to long term present.
right,
And I know what coming up with short term presentations is a little bit more difficult. And I know we've talked about breaking my videos down into different segments on the individual topics, but sometimes those segments are literally 40 minutes long.
right,
Might as well just leave it as the whole video. And
right,
so, like I said, I'm trying to figure out ways to make things better and smoother, try my styles, try and figure out. And like you said, with the bigger project and plan, it's something, I think this is a good way to practice which
right,
styles work for who and what
right.
Well,
and bring it
I
all
don't
together.
I don't know if you I know Crazy Bee did. I don't know if you watched any of my show on Sunday, D.
I
But
missed Sunday.
you can always go back and check it out. My presentation
Right,
that I did was like the first hour. And so that's why I leave it up obviously, but I'm my background is in science and medicine, so like I'm more of a hey, read paper, present data, type of person. So like that translates into how set things up for something I'm going to present, being more that like data driven PowerPoint kind of thing. And I feel bad trying to present that to people who might not necessarily have that, you know, interest. And that's part of why I like keep asking, am I boring people to death?
Eric, Eric.
Is to me, like, I don't know if that resonates with other people.
Eric.
Yeah. And see, I think it does. I really think that you're able to do that. And because there's a group of people who are interested in it, like me. You know, my brain works a lot like how yours does. I've done the sitting and reading research studies on medicines because the doctors asked me to do it. And, you know, is this medicine worth trying on the patients and this, that, and the other? And should we go through with it? You know, I've done that. And so that's what I was used to. And that's why I'm trying to find other ways to do this, not just, you know, I'm trying to find what works for me, kind of like how you're trying to figure it out. But there are people in that niche because we'll sit and watch it, even if it's a 4-hour long presentation, because it fascinates us. But again, finding them and keeping up with it long enough until they show up and find you, that's the harder part.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like the style you do. That it reminds me of like a college lecture,
Yep.
and I love the classrooms. I'm always loving learning. So
What's I say? I like teaching. I don't like being constrained to you got to talk about this dumb shit out of a this specific topic that's in a textbook. I like to just kind of talk about things interesting. But again, it takes time to put together, and after doing a stream, it definitely if I had better video editing abilities, I could cut re-record and put things into more manageable segments that were 30 or 40 minutes in a go.
mhm.
But I don't have the interest or energy in going back and doing that, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm learning to edit. Like you saw, I took the whole hour long of Pierce interviewing a bunch of people, and I cut out just the Boris Johnson, and that was broken up even into a couple of segments, and I just mashed it together. I think
Yeah,
I did pretty damn good for my first time really doing this.
I can do that. I have some free software I found that I can cut, video out of. But
Mhm.
as far as like actually editing something for
Mm.
real,
And see, my daughter is into video and picture editing, so we pay for CapCut Pro for her. And she logs in on my PC, so I have access to it. And actually, that's how I did my intro thing. I don't know if you saw that.
no,
Um,
I got here too late, I guess. Well, maybe
okay,
she
I
needs to
added
start
music to it.
being your editor.
And that's what she's actually been talking about is doing that and then also selling some digital art stuff.
Hmm.
And
I mean, my brother does the audio and whatnot for my brother-in-law's podcast.
oh, cool.
I
See?
learned that recently.
And that's a way where families can support friends and family can support each other. And like I've said before, if you want to, for when we're doing topics on your podcast, if you need something trimmed down, just send it to me. I'll go through it, see what I find and find parts. And like, if you send me timestamps for what you like, I can go through, cut them all out, put them as separate videos to pull up one at a time, or put them as a whole one. And you just mute as you pause it as you go. There's a lot of ways to do this. It's so much fun. I'm learning too.
But yeah, it's just the whole thing. Like at the end of the day, it's a lot of takes a lot of people don't realize how much energy and effort it can take and time to put together
Mhm.
something.
Yeah. And what I do know, I watched this one guy. What's his name? I was just watching his show. Hold on, let me pull this up on YouTube really fast so I can find it. He only posts like once every couple months, but he posts a very in-depth, long video on a topic. Usually like today's topic, where he released it was more of the inner earth, what's it called? Inner earth, theory, conspiracies, like
Mhm.
the hollow earth.
Followers.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I
Thank
mean, well,
you.
that's why a lot of people that produce on a regular basis have editors and have when they build up big channels.
Oh, it's Mr. Mythos. Mr.
Mhm.
Mythos. He only posts like once every couple months, but as soon as I see the video up, I'm jumping in.
Mhm.
So if it's worth doing a long term and record it and then edit it and then bring it up or do the deep dive just to go live, some people actually are going to be sitting on the edge of their bed waiting for that notification to pop up, or on the edge of their seat, or on the edge of the toilet, wherever they're sitting.
Mhm.
So if it's a good enough one, people will find it
Well,
and will jump in.
You know the balancing act I'm trying to play with, like, the pre-existing
Yeah.
group that I'm part of and the audience that I have already.
Yep. And
As compared to, like, what I'm trying to do. I mean, I'm also on the fence of being like I was saying to you about, like, maybe I do, hey, you know, once a month I'm gonna do an in-depth, or twice a month I'm gonna do an in-depth. And then the other times we're just gonna do, like, you know, some sort of interesting video and we'll cover it together.
Yeah.
And do, like, a video review or whatever, and then open up a panel.
Crazy Bee.
Yes, ma'am.
Frying pan. I can't type anything but frying pan. Okay? So
Yeah.
I think that this would be an excellent conversation for the three of us to have.
I agree.
All right.
Off the cameras. Yeah. We
correct.
can have that in Discord and stuff, but
Right.
yeah, there is so much going on. It's that we can all help each other.
Yeah.
Right.
I was gonna say I was gonna jump down anyways because I'm gonna go make some dinner and
I'm being
been
hounded about
ignoring you know
going
who.
to town and going into town and getting a couple things. It's primarily the Assassin's Creed series. They really want me to finish all the Assassin's Creeds. And good news, folks, my power supply, the new one for 900 watts, will be here tomorrow. And
Cool.
by middle of March, I will have my extra 32 gigs of RAM.
Well,
Cool.
I was thinking about this earlier when you were talking. You said you have, like, all the consoles?
Yes, I have like oh
Y
my god, we have
well
4 Xbox 360s in the house. We
what
have
I
a
was gonna
PlayStation
ask,
3.
do
Yeah.
you have a PS4?
I have 2 of them, and one's sitting right here in my room.
Well, I got a bunch of games that I bought and never played when I bought a PS4 years ago
Okay.
because I don't really play console games. I got it to play with a friend who I'm no longer, you know, wasn't friends with for much longer after that. Anyways, if you are interested, we should talk because I might have some games you've never played that you may be interested in that I'm never gonna actually play.
Send a list. I'm always interested in playing new games. Always. So, just send a list in the Discord and I will let you know.
Sounds good.
I
You like
think we're at a good spot to end the
Wrap
stream.
up for the day. Yep.
Correct.
That's what we're getting at, is basically winding down, and I'll throw out my outro and we'll just kind of go from there.
You got it. Thank you, Arby, for all your assistance. Thank you, Blue. I don't know how long you stayed, and for everybody else that joined us. And we can only get better or worse as we can continue to go on.
I don't think it's going to get worse. We're slowly
No.
improving.
Right. Day by day, one step at a time.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks for all your
You guys
input,
take
Arby.
care.
It was beneficial.
Yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Like I say, we can. I'm around tomorrow if you want to chat in Discord or whatever.
Okay,
Yep,
that's
sounds
cool.
good.
All right, sounds great.
Take care.
All right, bye guys.
All right, bye.
So with that,
Are we going for the
I
countdown?
thank you all for showing up, being here. Well, hold on. Shit, that's not working because you know what? I got this thing up. There we go. Now I can do my outro. So with that,
let's see it.
I thank you all for showing up, being here. And as usual, stay safe, stay sane, stay sober. I truly appreciate those who showed up and those
10,
who are going to be watching later
7,
on. I will catch y'all on the next one.
4, 1. Huh. Every